In the book of Ephesians, Paul wrote it this way. He says, do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. Why would Paul even use the analogy of being filled with the Spirit like drinking wine? Because maybe some of you have been around people who've drunk for a while. Maybe it was some of you. But when people tend to drink, they tend to lose a lot of their inhibitions. That's why people get up on karaoke night in a bar and do things they would never do in other places and other times. Right? Because a lot of times when people drink, they lose their fear. They lose their inhibitions. They step out and do things that they otherwise might not do. Now, there's a negative side to drinking alcohol, but being filled with the Spirit, this is the analogy point Paul's making. The more you're filled with the Spirit, the less you live out of what's in everybody else's head, and the more you live out of your devotion and passion for God. Because being filled with the Spirit is always connected in the New Testament to speaking. So in essence, he says this, instead, be filled with the Spirit doing what? Speaking to one another with psalms and hymns and songs from the Spirit, singing and making music from, notice not in, from your heart to the Lord. Always giving thanks to God the Father for everything. See, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what situations, there's always a reason. Because, see, if you begin, praise and worship is the voice of faith. Things may not be going well right now, but guess what? The fat lady ain't sung yet. God still has the last play. The King has one more move. When you worship God, when you don't know, when you don't understand because of who God is, that's what gives God the opportunity to move into your situations and do what no one else can do. Because when you're willing to worship God, see, if you're not led by your emotions or your feelings, but you are led by your faith, then you worship God because He is worthy. And so in essence, okay, notice this. That's why this whole idea that I can be worshiping God quiet is just not New Testament or Old Testament. It ain't Bible. That's just some concoction of religious people who get nervous, who get uncomfortable. But you see, the more you know God, the more you realize that He is the most attractive, the most awesome, the most wonderful. And when you know Him, you can't help but talk about Him. You can't help but praise Him. You can't help but let your voice be lifted and say, you are amazing.